Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by Zenoti, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago, I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them it is their job. I'd had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job. This is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and I always feel like I've got the teacher on when I've got a super podcast. So I feel like I've got to do my things properly, which I always do. But today I've got a great friend who has just got an amazing story he wants to tell. Today I'm talking to Stu Whiffen. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, Stu Roberts, MBE. I'm good. I think you're the only person I've ever met that's like got an MBE.
Am I?
Yeah. I feel like I'm glad that you've graced me with your presence today. Love it. You all good, mate?
Really good. Yeah. Got so much to look forward to, and I've got to really be completely. I've got to get my head right that I mustn't veer off to the upcoming UFC London.
Okay.
We are talking about something completely different, and even though it's on the tip of my tongue constantly, let's get straight into this story because... Hang
on. First things first. See, I don't want to go into podcaster mode and start telling you what to do and asking the questions. Have you pressed record?
You wanker. You're making me look. Of course I've pressed record. I will never, ever be allowed to forget the moment when I didn't press record on Lena Headey. Only because you was in the office and saw the look of panic on my face after 45 minutes of talk.
Love it.
And then that's when the Queen Cersei called me a wanker, which
wonderful.
It's a great memory of mine.
Brilliant.
Yes, we are recording. It says so in the corner there.
Oh, I'm just messing.
I know you are. I saw what was happening. We all know what's going on, the Ukraine and this terrible situation. Everyone feels helpless. But tell me about what you and your mates did.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was just as the conflict started in Ukraine, I got COVID, and I'd managed to avoid COVID for the 2 years that everybody had been getting it and suffering with it, and I got it when no one cared about it anymore, so I didn't get any sympathy, and my mum and dad were visiting my brother in Australia. So quite quickly, when I found out that I'd got COVID, me missus and kids were like, right, go on, naff off around your mother's and go and live around there for a few days in an empty house. She lives over in Alsett, which is, is kind of in between where me and you live, and it's a nice little village. And so there I was, had a nice house to myself, and I'd got, I'd been working from there because, I didn't really want to. I know you can go out and about if you've got the Rona now, but it don't quite sit right with me, that. So I was like, I'll just stay here for a few days until I get a couple of negative tests. And that evening, I pushed the boat out, and us Essex boys, we're not too flash with our money, but I spent £9 on a bottle of red wine, which I think's the most I've ever spent on a bottle of wine, Stu. And so I ended up sitting there in my mum and dad's house, watching various news channels just non-stop. And then I just had this sort of moment where I just thought, do you know what? I'm in this nice house in this little village. drinking a £9 bottle of wine. About a mile and a half up the road, my missus and kids are sitting in a nice home, watching TV, safe, and I just thought, do you know what? This ain't sitting right with me. What I'm seeing here, and like, what could I possibly do? And it was really weird. The next day, I got a phone call from somebody that had been on my music podcast that was a musician, and he said that he was gonna. He'd been watching the news, feeling useless, and was going to put a gig together. So I was like, oh, amazing. And he said, like, do you think, you know anyone that might want to perform? So I was like, okay. So I just sent a few text messages to a couple of musicians that had been on the podcast, and in a heartbeat, they all said yes. And so I introduced them to Martin, the fellow that initially got in touch with me. And then, that I think by the morning, Shepherd's Bush Empire had been booked, and there was a huge roster of James Acaster and Star Sailor and all these amazing bands of musicians, and it was all on sale. And it was like, wow, like the kindness of strangers, just quite quickly, this can happen. And I just thought, well, I didn't necessarily put bundles of stuff together for that. I just introduced a few people and sent a couple of text messages, and I thought, if that can happen that easily, like what could I do? And obviously, you know this, but nobody knows what I do. But I'm a promoter, and so I thought, right, do I look at putting a gig on at my venue in Rayleigh? And I just thought, I don't know, like. I felt like I'd kind of used up my favours with musicians and stuff. So I was like, okay, right, what can I do here? And so I decided that I would reach out to a couple of mates. So I just had this stupid idea that it might be an idea to get a van and drive to the Ukrainian border, which bizarrely, the minute I asked a couple of my mates, all of them straight away just went, yeah, all right. And Stu, can I just pause this for 2 secs?
Yeah.
I'm really, really. So I reached out to two mates and was like, I've got this idea. I'm toying with the idea of driving to the border and seeing if someone would give us a van, see if someone would donate some items. And my mate George straight away just went, yep. And a couple of people were just like, I'd love to, but I've got work and things like that, which, obviously that makes sense. People have got jobs. I work for myself, as does George, so we could be a little bit flexible with it. And so I thought, right, well, let's put it on Facebook and just see if someone can loan us a van. And a company got in touch and said, look, we've got a van for you. So it was like, right, brilliant. We're getting there now. And then they messaged back saying, actually, it's electric. We won't get you there. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I'm going to name them, this wonderful company called Envirovan in Basildon. The girl there, Katie, got in touch and she went, I've got a van for you. I think it's amazing what you're looking to do. And that was it then. After that, we was all up and running. And so I set up a Just Giving page and was like, okay, right, that's that in place. Don't share that yet. And then I announced that so we're recording this on the 17th. So this would have been literally a week ago. I said, I'm going to do a collection at the Pink Toothbrush nightclub in Rayleigh. If anyone wants to drop off nappies, sanitary towels, toiletries, thermal items and first aid items. And I think I'd had the door open 10 minutes and I reckon 30 or 40 people had arrived with like bags and bags of stuff. And it was like, it weren't them like, because we was told not to take clothes out there, second-hand clothes, because that's going to landfill, apparently. I don't know if that's changed now, but so like literally everything that was being delivered there was all brand new items, and so it was like, wow, people are buying this to send out there. It wasn't like, let's have a look what we got around the house. It was, you know, real generosity. And at one point, this woman turned up. She must have been in her 80s and went, I've saved up me Boots loyalty cards, and I've just bought you a packet of nappies. And like, the bottom lip was going. I'm not going to lie. Even the fucking traffic warden outside went, right, I'll make sure no one parks here today, but if they're delivering stuff, I'll let them off. And then you think, like, fucking hell, even the traffic warden's being nice. And then, we'd, you know, I reckon the whole of the stage of the venue was full of donations within about 2 hours. And I was thinking, we've got more than we need. Like, we've got too much stuff. After processing it and everybody else telling me that this won't fill that van, we'll have more space. They were right. But that night, like the Wednesday night, I went home and I was chatting to my mate who works at Customs, and she was like, have you got all your stuff in place for, like, and I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I got a van, I booked on a Eurotunnel, like we're gold. And it was like, no, we ain't in the EU anymore. Like, and if they didn't like us now, you know, they've never hated us so much. Like, it ain't easy getting into the EU. So I then went on the government website, and my brain just exploded with red tape and forms, and then I'm starting to get messages from people saying, how organised are you for this? Because there's people being held at the borders that are just people that are trying to do something nice, haven't got the relevant stuff to get them into the EU. So I put a thing on Facebook again, just saying, does anybody know anything about getting, you know, into the EU with you know, humanitarian aid? And a friend of mine got in touch and said, look, speak to this guy. And it was his name was Mike, and he worked for a company called Brunel Logistics. And he went, look, I can do all this for you. Like, you know, that's my contribution to what you're doing. And he went, you know, you have to, and we had to then itemize every item. So we knew that we had X amount of nappies, X amount of this, and that's 2 days work. That was 2 days work, and there was 6 of us doing it. It was quite full on to get it all done. Yeah. And then get the van loaded. And we done another collection on the Thursday in Grays in Essex. And then we got the paperwork Friday morning saying we're good to go Saturday. And so it was like, I'd sat tight on the Just Giving. I hadn't shared it. And I was still thinking, if we don't get that paperwork, we've got a van full of shit that we need to then find out what we can do with it. And it was concerning. And and it was because there was definitely, you know, not in a crass way, but there was a big, there's a sense of excitement that, you know, what we was doing. I wanted to get out there and get stuck in. Yeah. But you know, that was all on the back burner till we got this paperwork. So we got the paperwork on the Friday morning. We loaded the van, and with the last collection, we was full, and I mean full. We estimate there's about 18 grand's worth of gear on there. Yeah. Like, people's generosity was off the scale. And then it meant that, you know, we could get up Saturday morning and go, and then I could kind of focus on what I do best, which is promote. So I could then get really going with that Just Giving link. I checked the Just Giving, and we'd set a target of 2 grand. And before we'd even left, I'd noticed that we'd exceeded that. It was on like 2 grand, 2,200 quid or something. I was like, how do people know about that? Like, we've not really shared it, but it was like, it had been tagged on a few bits. So that was really like encouraging. And then, we set off. It was me and my mate, George Blundell, and somebody that I went to college with called Paul Bate that I hadn't seen since college. And, you know, we'd never really gone out and had a drink together or anything. And so it was a gamble, like thinking, right, there's 3 people that I'm now going to be in this cab in this van with for a long time. and thankfully, we all got on like house on fire. We're all, pretty laid back fellas and up for a laugh. And then, we got to customs in the morning, and they put the van on the X-ray machine, and that was it. We didn't even get asked for any paperwork, and it was like, fuck's sake, all of that. But I think you played a safe game, don't you? Think, well, had we not have done that, I know with my luck we would have just been like, "Where's all your paperwork?" Turn around. Yeah. So we left at 4 a.m. and drove across France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and right the way to the far side of Germany, to Dresden, which is about, I think, about 40 minutes from the Polish border. And we got there, I think it was about 11, 12 hours driving. I wasn't allowed to drive because I'd drive like Miss Daisy, and they're like, look, the war will be over by the time you get there. Stop driving. And so, I wasn't allowed to drive. But what that enabled me to do was, as I mentioned, do kind of what I think I do best, which is I'd reached out to lots of people that have been on my podcast, whether they be actors or musicians, and said, do me a little video just saying, donate here for this journey. And everybody just kept pinging these videos in. So I would just sit there, just working the social media all the way out there, posting these videos, and then just the joy of hearing your emails going bing, 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 which was just somebody's just donated to your Just Giving page. And seeing that go up was really, really wonderful. And then, we that night in Dresden, Germany's still really, really heavy on COVID. Like everything was shutting early. We just had the kind of surgical masks that we wear in the UK, and they're illegal to wear them in Germany. You have to have a specific type of mask. So we was very limited as to what we could do. Not that, we was going to go out partying. It was like, we'd been driving for 12 hours. It was like, just grab some cheap digs, get some sleep, because we had to be up and gone again by 6 a.m. So, we got some sleep. And then before we did get to sleep, a friend of ours got in touch, because we our intention was to go to the border. And we've been working with a contact at War Child that I know. That was what that's what the Just Giving links for, War Child, which is an incredible organisation. And then we got a message from somebody that I used to work with that works with George, and she was like, and it turns out her partner, very high up in the military, about as high as you can get, and he was out there doing sort of security work with the media in and out of the Ukraine, and said, you should speak to him. And so we did, and he said, go here. This organisation here is incredible what they're doing. So it was really brilliant to have a postcode, not just go to the border. And whilst en route, we're seeing stories of aid being sort of turned around at the border, saying, look, we've got it under control here. But once these refugees are coming over the border, they're not staying there. They're filtering out across Poland. So it's like there's lots of places that need that aid. Yeah. And this one was about 45 minutes back from the border. And we went there, and it was, I think, I don't want to say that the journey out there was a laugh, but you're stuck in a van for 3 days, with two lads. And taking nothing away from the seriousness and the horror that's happening out there. We was going to have a laugh in that van on the way out there to try and we got a lot of time to pass, and so we was just lads having a joke in it. And then when we started getting into Poland, they weren't quite so funny then. Like the kind of seriousness of and the reason that we was going there started to become more apparent. That you'd look, and all you'd see on the opposite side of the road was buses, coaches, minibuses, cars just ferrying refugees away from the border. These buses have got flags from all over all over Europe, but obviously the Ukrainian flag in the window as well. Just taking these people to hopefully a nice, warm, safe, comfortable place. and you start to look at that, and we stop to get a coffee in a services, and you see some of these minibuses pulling up there, and then you're seeing like people waiting in cars, and you see them like these poor people being reunited with members of their families, and it's quite emotional to see that. And that was started to, it become very leveling then, and it was like, okay, right, this is why we're doing this. And because you'd also got to realise that we was going the opposite way, and when you're overtaking like tanks and military vehicles, you think, why are we going the same way as these when everyone's going the other way? Your mind can't help but ask them questions. But
three Essex blokes in a white van.
It couldn't be any more cliched, could it?
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's the three Essex blokes in a white van. Well, Rodney.
It really
should we be going now?
It really was, and it was that night. The previous night was the night that Lviv had been bombed, which was 30 miles from the border. Yeah, and so you were seeing also, and when we got to the centre, we was hearing stories like the Polish people were like, well, let's go, and Polish people were moving away because it was so close. Yeah, for me and you, that's like, if London started getting bombed 30 miles up the road, you'd start packing your bags, wouldn't you? Thinking, right, let's get the family to safety here. And so, yeah, you could see the sense of, do you know what? And I don't want to sort of overplay it in any way, because we were safe all the way there and all the way home. And we didn't see anything like, horrible or anything like that. I've got no stories of anything like that. All I've got stories of is ridiculous amounts of kindness, love, generosity, positivity, and just so many people just coming together to try and do something to help people. And it was, no one knows that any more than Stuart Roberts, MBE. Do you know what I mean? It was like...
That's why I'm smiling, mate. That's why I'm smiling, because I get it. People see it on the TV, but when you're there in life witnessing it, it's a different ball game. People see homeless centres on the TV or whatever. When you get in one, and then when you're surrounded by other people who, it ain't just the hairdressers who come together with what I do. I meet the people who work in there. Some of them it's a job, some of them volunteering. And when you get this sort of humanity coming together and all they're showing is love for other people, it just makes the fucking hairs on your arm stand up. And so, mate, like, you was a witness to a moment in time there.
Yeah. And as was, a lot of people as well. A lot of people were doing what we were doing. We certainly weren't, one of a few. There was loads of people, and it was lovely. Every time you see like a van go past you, like loaded up with stuff, it was like, these people are coming from like all over all over Europe to do this. And then we got to this centre, and when we got there, we was met by a gentleman that was ex-special forces in Syria, Syrian gentleman, and he was now sort of volunteering and doing security work at this centre, which didn't exist 2 weeks ago, obviously. I think they'd only had electricity a week, and the infrastructure was just incredible. And when we couldn't find it at first, and this fella come out and sort of waved us down and brought us in. And these are volunteers, and they've got their work cut out in this organisation, and all of them come over and said hello. All of them wanted to help unload the van with us, and we was happy to do that. And obviously we got we got stuck into doing that, and it was quite funny, because obviously we wanted to get a little bit of like video and a few photos, just so we can show all the people that donated, here's where we are. This is your stuff now, going where it needs to go. And it was funny. We spoke to the Syrian guy, and I said, "Look, are you all right just to kind of explain what you do here?" He said, "Yeah." As soon as we filmed him, he went, "Yeah, I don't know what they've told you, but we're currently in Turkey, and we're going to unload this." And then we're going to go and flog it all.
I love people like
that. And he was like, no, I'm just fucking with you. And he sort of said exactly where it was going. And what we didn't expect was to hear that, we presumed that all of that was going to go to the refugees. And he said, look, the sanitary towels and the nappies and the baby products will be going to refugees, but the medical stuff and the thermal stuff, that's going back into Ukraine to the soldiers, and so that was amazing to hear. And so we had a quick cup of tea. They made us a cup of tea and we had a chat with them, and then it was back in the van and a 5-hour drive across Poland to get back into Germany. And then all the time, like I say, just some of the people in the entertainment business were sending me these little videos, so I just posting them. And I think by the time, where we're at the moment, we've raised about 8,600, and Paul had his own one. I think he's on 1,500. So say we've made 10. Our friend Jim at War Child messaged us just before we got back in the UK, saying you do realise that with UK aid match that it gets doubled.
Fantastic, yeah.
We managed to raise about 20 grand, but people can still raise it now. I'll send you the link so if people want to. And that goes to War Child. It was a crazy few days, Joe. And I got up. We got home. For those that don't, really understand just how far that is, it is a fucking long way. Put it that way. And
that's a scientific way of putting it. Fucking long way.
It's a very Essex way of putting it. How far was that, mate? Oh, fucking
long way.
But we to get around, I think 68 hours we got there and back was it was quite a we didn't hang around, and so I think Tuesday morning I woke up back in Essex, and I just laid in bed for about 10 minutes, and I was like, what just happened? And it was like, right, get the dog and go for a walk. And I just had a walk and just tried to kind of process like the last 3 days. And again, I'm not glorifying anything. There was nothing horror or horrific, but just like the relentlessness of what we've done, and just a few days before, the stress of, are we going to get the paperwork, itemising all the items, and I've got to be honest, you know me, and you know that, like, I wouldn't say I'm a wide boy promoter, but I'm not afraid to have a go at a few things and take something on. But I did say to my missus at one point, I think I bit off too much and I can chew here. I think I might have been a bit ambitious here. And that was the Wednesday night, I think, before we went. I was like, oh, fuck.
The difference? The difference is when you are a wide world promoter, I'm not saying you're doing it selfishly, but you're doing it for you. You're doing it for something you're creating. What you had, the difference is you had the responsibility of others.
Yeah, and it was by then. I had a van full of kindness, and and it was like, right, well, I can't. I've got to do it. And once we got that paperwork, it was like, right, okay, now it's on. And it was a beautiful, leveling, strange, fun experience, like to witness. And I say fun not in a crass way. It was just I never experienced like en masse generosity like that and kindness like that from people delivering items for our van, from the vans that we were seeing and the buses we were seeing, and the embracement of people, like, when they were hugging at these services and that. And it was like, and the volunteers at the centre, it was just kindness. And as much as I've just said, I spent most of that time on social media pushing stuff, like, there was kindness on that, messages of support, messages of I've just donated and things like that. It was lovely. And I think we can be very cynical creatures, and we can be very, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's sometimes. Do you know what I said? Like, if like my kids, and I don't mean this in like a worthy way, like I've done anything that no one else would do, but if my kids at some point when they get older, should they find themselves in a situation where, you know, there's something you can do, I really hope that more than anything, like that they'll just think, oh, you can do this stuff. You can just think, oh, fuck it, let's just have a go. And like, because Dad done that, and and I think, you know, and I'm not trying to big myself up at all here. I'm really not. But just hopefully, like, you know, and like yourself, Stu, like so many people, you know, have acknowledged, you know, what you've done. I mean, you know, I won't suggest I'm worthy of an MBE, but I'm just throwing it out there if the Royals are listening.
I can nominate now. I've got one.
But yeah, like you know, as I'm sure you see on a regular basis, on a daily basis, Stu, the kindness of strangers is a fucking wonderful thing, and yeah, it's something that I think, you know, hopefully this conflict comes to an end soon. I really hope so, because, you know, what you're seeing on the news is horror, absolute horror. Yeah. And the thing that I wanted to say, you know, just to kind of, I guess, start to sort of wrap it up, really, because that's the journey, really. But I'm going to go for the kind of plug for the link now, for the Just Giving link. But the thing that was the overriding thing that kept resonating with me was Ukraine's not a poor country. And it's like, you know, we've had people go, well, you know, I've seen people online go, oh, fucking no one done this in Syria, or no one done this for that. And it's like, no, 100% agree, you know. But I didn't realise just how close we were to this. And so that can't help but resonate. No. It's in Europe. And like, so that does feel different. The horror of it is the same globally. And that, you know, but I think the thing that really resonated is the fact that it's not a poor country. And 2 weeks ago, these people were probably sitting in their rooms like me and you right now, recording podcasts, just, you know, oh, I'm going to go and see my dad later, or, you know, I've got to go and do the shopping tonight, and I just want to go for a bit of dinner. All of the stuff that we do every single day and just don't ever think about because it's just normal life. They had that life 2 weeks ago.
I know.
And in 2 days, in a matter of days, it was like, you need to get a bag and get your dog and get your kids and go and live. Yeah. I don't know where, but you've got to go. Leave your house. Oh, and also you've got to leave your dad, your brother, your son, your uncle. Yeah. Like, because he's going to get given a gun, and he's probably going to have like a battle. You know, he's going to have to involve himself in a war zone where he could, you know, potentially die or potentially have to kill someone. Yeah. Like that's fucking mental. But like that imagine that in the UK. I know. 2 days time, me and you are like being given a gun, and it's like, right, crack on. Oh, by the way, your families, I don't know where they're going to be, but they're going to be somewhere else, and your house is probably going to get flattened. It's incomprehensible.
I'll be hiding under this desk.
I'll be hiding under you playing dead, mate.
I can't get over the bravery. I cannot get that, you know, like, because we're talking about the journey in to support, but we've got to talk about the thing that's there. Like the Klitschko brothers, you know, like we love fighting.
Who's sick?
You know, like, you know, or the other boxers and
Lomachenko, they're all there.
And they're all there. You know, they're given it. They could easily like do.
These have got £50 million in the bank.
I know.
You know what I mean? They could go and live in the Seychelles.
And they go, right? No, I'm there. I'm there. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and the bravery, as you say, like saying goodbye to your wife and kids or your grandchildren, in my case, and going, no, I'm like, you make sure you're safe. I'm off with whatever they're going to give me. You know, we've not seen bravery like this. See, the thing is, you brushed on something there as well that's very crucial to people. We can't overestimate the human condition. You know, it's on our doorstep. You know, people worry and they do things. Some people more than others. You know, they go and do it, but generally, like it's not in our backyard. That old thing. Now it is in our backyard, and we're seeing it for the first time close at hand for many, many decades. And you start to think, shit, this is happening right on our doorstep.
24 hours in your car, you're on that border.
Right. That's the thing, you know, and that's why it's hit home. It's a shame that people don't think of it in Syria and these other places, but they're not on your back doorstep. It doesn't take away the severeness of all that's going on, but it just, and maybe, all right, let's always get a positive out of a negative. That is a negative that we've not taken the notice, but maybe now we will. Yeah. Maybe now that people will go, right, hang on a minute. Yeah, this is real. This is that. And we're all starting to think, them poor people, and they've had that in Syria, they've had that all these other places. So like, maybe it will open our eyes a bit more and be more giving. Another thing I wanted, there's a couple of things that bounced in as well. The thing of, like you said, I was only banging on social media, but the difficulty, not difficult, the great thing of that is that when the D-Day landings was on, you know, like if only we had that then, if only we had the people, like the one guy in the thing being able to put all that on and getting all those messages and all that. I know I'm not comparing it to D-Day landings. I know you did do a D-Day landing. But
do mention that when you put
I will.
For the NBA,
when I fill in the form in for you, I will. But you know, it's the next thing. But no, you understand what I mean? It was that imagine that then, that we would have had all that going on, and you can't underestimate the power of that, what you do with that, because and getting all those people behind it, and celebrity works, you know, getting those people to send their messages, it wakes people up. All we're doing is waking people up with all this stuff. I wake people up to the homeless and to women's refugees and street workers. I'll wake them up to that. You're waking them up to what's going on over there. And that's the power of what we do with this, you know. And it's that feeling, while you got excited, you had that feeling of being able to do something, because we feel like we look at it unfold in front of us and we think we're helpless. And by you're not going to solve the problem out in Ukraine. What you are doing, you're going to show people, well, I can do something. And that's what you boys did. You Essex boys in your white van went and done something. And we all need to do something. And that's the important thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the work that, you know, it's generally me that's doing the kind of more media side of it and fronting it, because that's kind of what I do. But, you know, this was three of us. This weren't just me. This was Paul Bay and George Blundell. And and like I say, if I was driving, we'd probably still be, I don't know, probably bellowing.
One last thing before we're going to wrap up, but I want to know, why did you choose War Child? There's lots of other ones there, but what made you choose War Child?
So there was it was either that or British Red Cross, and War Child is something that I've worked with before. My very good friend Jim is head of events and stuff at War Child, so I've kind of had quite an insight into the work that they do, and I know that a lot of their focus is now on that border and in the Ukraine, and you know, you're seeing more and more footage of children in Ukraine at the moment, you know, horror, absolute horror, and I think War Child as well, and I don't mean this in a crass way as well, but I think people are, when there's children involved in conflict, I think it instantly spikes an emotional chord with people to want to help as well. And that's taking nothing away from what the Red Cross do, which is unbelievable work. But War Child is something that I've kind of always sort of had a lot of love for. So when, you know, and seeing what they were doing out there, and, you know, and speaking to people at War Child, it was like, right, I think this is the right one for us. And
Yeah, and we'll push that out. Well, Stu, thanks so much, mate. I shall obviously get all the links on, and you know, I found even with what we've done in the past with stuff, it will keep coming in. It doesn't have to stop now the event's done. The event is a catalyst to sort of let's keep raising money for War Child in any way we can.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And so, yeah, we're going to keep that open for a bit. We're still getting, you know, emails coming in and stuff where people are just stumbling across bits on social media and doing it. So, yeah, like if anyone, you know, is sitting here and looking to donate, then, please find the link and click, and it'll be much appreciated. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, much love, brother.
Cheers, Joe.
Always love it to speak to you.
Always, mate.
And can't wait for the weekend.
Yeah, mate.
I nearly got out about it. Cheers. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job. This is a calling.